When is it time to upgrade to a paid Notion plan? If the pricing tables are super confusing to you, this is the topic that we're gonna dive into today so that you know what you can get away with for free and when you need to take Notion to the next level. By the end of this video, you are going to know exactly which plan of Notion you need. And we're gonna talk the free plan versus the Notion Plus plan today. We're not gonna worry about business and enterprise plans because as far as I know, there are no CEOs with hundreds of employees watching this video, which is who the primary audience is for those types of plans. This is just for regular people like you and me who want to use Notion to organize our personal lives, or maybe we have a side hustle or business that we want to organize in Notion as well. If you're new here, my name is Kalyn, and you take a quick glance at my channel, you will realize that we talk a lot about planning and productivity tips, and also a whole lot of Notion because it is my all-time favorite digital organization tool. So if you have not subscribed yet, make sure you do that, especially if you want to see more videos like this coming down the pipeline. Also hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when I release a new video. Now, before we start diving into all of the features and differences between the Notion free plan and the Plus plan, I just want to share in full transparency that if you do use the link in my description to sign up with Notion and you have a paid plan, if you upgrade to a paid plan, I will receive a small commission for that, which will go towards supporting the content that I create here. But I am not using this video to push you towards a paid plan. In fact, by the end of it, you'll probably think it's the complete opposite because I'm going to basically share all the things that you can use Notion for free, and it will probably be enough. And if not, I'll also share some hacks to be able to keep you on that free plan a little bit longer. Let's go for pricing real quick, just so you have this as reference. So the Plus plan for Notion is $10 per person per month, paid annually. And if you pay it monthly, it's gonna be $12 a month per person. So you do get a little bit of a discount if you pay for one full year upfront. And when they say per person, Notion is talking about the different members that you are adding to your team spaces. So these are primarily for people who want to work on a lot of Notion pages with a partner, or they have a small business and they have a couple of assistants that need to access a lot of pages. So you're not just paying for yourself in that case, you're also paying that per monthly fee for each person on your team. Just something to be aware of. When I was looking at what is the most comparable tool to Notion, because if you're doing the discount for a full year, it's $120 a year. That's not super cheap. Now, comparably, ClickUp, which I will arguably say Notion has a lot more customization features than ClickUp, but ClickUp is probably the closest project management and productivity tool I would say that is similar to Notion. Now that is $84 a year. So Notion is a lot pricier, but I also think you can do a lot more with it. Moving into the basic features. I am not going to outline every single feature on the pricing table. I think that would be extremely boring and a long video. I'm just gonna highlight some of the differences to be aware of, starting with pages and blocks. Nice thing is on the free plan, if you are the only one in your workspace, you don't have any team members at all, you get unlimited pages, unlimited blocks. The only time you would have a block limit is if you add a member to your team space and on your trial basis you're not paying for them yet, then you are limited to 1,000 blocks, which you can bump up against really quickly. I'm just taking my quick capture page, for example. There are 24 blocks on there between the titles and dividers and buttons. Every single text piece, every single item on a page is a block. So that would be the only issue of you possibly needing to upgrade to the Plus plan, is if you have a lot of pages and a lot of blocks that you are using, which if you have someone as an assistant and you have a business, your whole business organized in Notion, you're probably going to run out of those blocks really quickly. But for those of us who are just using Notion individually, it's going to be completely fine. Moving right along to the second feature that will have differences between the free plan and the Notion plan is when it comes to page sharing. So on the free plan, you can share your pages with up to 10 guests. On the Plus plan, you can share them with up to 100 guests. Now, if you remember earlier on, I talked about the pricing plan being per member, per person. So what is the difference between a member and a guest? It took me a little bit to wrap my head around this because they seem like similar up front, but they do have differences. So when you add a guest to your workspace, that means you're sharing an individual page with them. So you're clicking on the top right-hand side of the page, clicking share, and giving them editing privileges or comment or view only privileges. As a personal use case, you may want to do this when you're planning a trip with a friend or planning a family reunion with a family member. It's kind of like a Google Doc where you just both collaborate in there and can be able to see what the other person is doing, be able to give feedback via the commenting feature. So that is what you can do with guests. Individual pages that you can share with up to 10 people on the free plan. Now, when it comes to members, members are people that you add to your entire team space. So this is primarily for people who do have small businesses and they have an executive assistant or a couple of team members that need to access a lot of different pages. Because when you add someone as a member, they automatically get access to every single page that you put in that team space. Whereas a guest, you would have to add them individually to each page manually. But here is a little hack if you're thinking, well, I have a small business, I have a virtual assistant, but I really don't want to add her as a member because that just gets expensive. I don't want to pay for that. I'm trying to save on costs. What you can do is you can add them as a guest to one major dashboard page for your business, and then by default, that guest will have access to all sub pages in that dashboard page. So whereas I have different dashboards, like I have KBHQ, I have the content creation hub, I have SOP files and things like that, I add a member, they get access to all of those. But if I were to put all of those subpages onto the HQ page that became my main business dashboard page, then a guest would be easily able to access all of them for free. So those are the differences. I hope that makes sense. Let me know if I need to clarify anything in the comments. Now let's talk about feature number 3, which are file uploads. You can upload videos, images, PDFs, whatever you want into the body of a Notion page, or you can use the files and media property on a database to be able to add them right into that database field. The limit that you have on a free plan is those files must be less than 5 megabytes. So if you find yourself like pushing up against that limit, you've got some major video files that you're wanting to add to a page, some bigger images, that's where you could run into trouble. Where on the Plus plan side, you get unlimited file sizes. Now here's a hack, because remember I promised to come through with a hack on how you could keep your free version as long as possible, is you can just add links to those files. Or if those images or video files are hosted elsewhere, you can grab a link, like the copy image address link, and put it into Notion, and then it will show the preview of it. It will show the image, but it will be hosted elsewhere, so it's not taking up that space. I do this for cover photos when I'm wanting a different cover that maybe the Unsplash photo stock photo library doesn't have like a great one. I'll just go look at like Pexels, which is a royalty-free site, and I'll grab one of the image addresses for that, pop it in as my cover photo. I do that with my reading hub, where it's like, I am not gonna waste time downloading these book covers and then uploading them to Notion. I will just grab the image address and put it in there. So that's an option. Another hack is you can add a property that connects to your Google Drive. So if you have files uploaded in Google Drive folders, or even just the file themselves, you grab that link, you put it in the database property, it will automatically link to it. So you can be on that page that you need to be on and reference in Notion, click it, and it will automatically go into your Google Drive. I don't think that should be an issue based on like the workarounds that you have, whereas like you can always compress images down to lower than 5 megabytes, not a big deal. But if it was like a big video file, you could host that elsewhere and then just have the link to it in Notion. The next feature, page history, may or may not be important to you. I don't think it's a super big deal for myself, but on the free version, you have 7 days of page history that you can access, whereas on the Plus plan, you have 30 days history. Now, the only time I've gone back and restored a different version of the page is when I've made a mistake and I deleted something, and for some reason I can't get it back, but usually it's within the last couple of minutes, and I'm able to go and restore that version by clicking on the top right of the page, finding the version history, and then restoring, basically before I deleted that thing. So I don't think that's gonna be the thing that pushes you like, oh yeah, I got a 30-day page history. I don't know, maybe I'm different, maybe other people are using this more, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. This next feature, this is where I think you might be tempted to upgrade to Plus, and that's with database automations. Now, there's a lot of different automations that you can do in Notion. You on the free plan have access to buttons. You saw those on my quick capture page where I click a button and it will add something to my task list or wish list or learning library. You can set those up. You have as many as you need to be able to say what you want to have happen when you click on that button. When it comes to the automations of databases, which are accessed via that little lightning bolt icon in the top right of the database, on the free plan, you can only connect it to Slack. So Slack is what usually team members will use in a business when they're like communicating and chatting back and forth with each other and they don't want to like waste time in their email doing it. So it connects to Slack, that's it. On the Plus version, you have unlimited database automations and unlimited options. I don't want to take the time to go through all the different automation examples that you could have. So I'm going to send you over to watch after this my Notion magic video. That's what it's called because that's what database automations pretty much feel like magic happening behind the scenes. And I will give you 5 different use cases and personal examples of how I use automations in Notion that just make things way easier. Because basically when you set up these automations, you can say, well, if I check this task off, then do this over here. Or if I change the status, then add a page over here. There are so many different automation options so that if you felt like Notion was becoming a little bit too clicky, or you just were like, I'm spending so much time changing things and updating properties, is there any way that maybe I could do this automatically? You might be able to do it through database automation. So that's definitely something to look into and might nudge you a little bit closer to the Plus plan. When it comes to database views, the next feature that we're going to talk about, you have had access to every single view for free on the free plan. However, Notion has recently announced charts as a new database view, and it is so cool. I don't know if you've had a chance to play with charts yet because on the free plan, you do get access to 1 chart, whereas on the Plus plan, you get access to unlimited charts. Now, I will be honest, I am loving playing with charts, but I'm not seeing that I necessarily need it in my workspace except for where I used it. So as an example, I put it in my reading hub, and what I wanted to do is I wanted to take my bookshelf database and I wanted to show the information in a more visual way. And I wanted to say, hey, can we see a chart of how many books I've read for the year and what different genres have I read for the year? So I can clearly see visually I am really digging the psychological thrillers this year for some reason, because that's the majority of the books that I have read shown to me visually via charts. So they are really fun to play with, but you may find that you only need 1. If you see other databases where you're like, oh, this information would actually be really helpful to see in a bar chart or in a pie chart, then consider upgrading to the Plus plan. But I love that Notion gives us at least 1 to play with on the free version. The last feature that I want to talk about are Notion websites. Now, you have always been able to publish a Notion page publicly and share it with other people. But now Notion has made Notion sites a little bit more robust. So if you want to use them for any type of website, you can. If you feel more comfortable building in Notion rather than WordPress, Squarespace, or Wix, you can use Notion. Now, here are the differences between the free plan and the Plus plan. And this is where I really think if you want to use Notion for websites, you should probably do the Plus plan. This is one place where I'm not gonna convince you to stay on the free plan, because on free, even though you do get one notion.site domain, and on the Plus plan you get 5, on the free plan, you cannot customize your SEO title or description. And what I mean by that, SEO is search engine optimization. So this is how people are finding you in search. Your title and description, when you Google stuff and those pop up, you can't customize those. So it's basically Notion is trying to be smart and pick the right things off your page, but you can't say whether you're targeting a specific keyword and making sure you're working it into that description. But on the Plus plan, you can customize those. You can say whether you want that keyword right in the title or you want it to be in the description to make sure you're easily found in search. On the Plus plan, you can also add a favicon, like a custom favicon, which is that little icon that shows up on the browser tabs when you're looking at different websites. You can have Google Analytics connected to it, which is really important if you want to see the data on who's visiting your site and where, which pages are more popular, how many people are coming and visiting your site and seeing what you have on there. And you can also customize the header section as well to make it look like a real website. Now, I don't want to discourage you from using Notion for websites. However, I do want to share my opinion because I am a WordPress girly. I've been building sites for the last decade, probably like 5 sites over the last 12 years, and I've always used WordPress and loved it. I do think Squarespace is fine too. You could use that, but self-hosted WordPress is where it is at if you want a true legit website business, whether you're wanting to blog as a business or you are a professional and you're offering a lot of different services. I think WordPress websites and Squarespace are where it's at. If you want to do something on Notion, I think it's more aligned with like smaller projects. So like if you want to have your resume in Notion, I think that's a great use for it because you can send out one link to all these different companies and always keep it updated. You don't have to send them like a new PDF or anything. I think if you want to just have a blog for friends and family and you don't want to worry about like the setup and all these plugins and picking a theme and all the stuff that comes from a website, then I think that would be a great use case for it as well. I mean, you can use Notion websites for anything. I'm not going to stop you. But if you especially want to do blogging as a business and you need to basically have the capability of some different plugins that come with WordPress and also have the ability to input banner ads so you can actually make money on that blog, then I would shift you away from Notion. But I am excited to see, hopefully in the future, that Notion websites continues to improve, where maybe I'll be like, hey, yeah, use Notion. Like, it's got it all because they're constantly improving, constantly adding new features. One thing I do want to mention is that if you want a custom domain, so if you don't want to send someone to, your name.notion.site, you want to remove that branding, which if you have a professional service-oriented business, then I would do that to look a little bit more professional. Then that's an extra $8 a month on top of that per domain. So if you're already paying for the Plus plan at $10 a month, then it's $8 a month on top of that. So a total of $18 a month, just so you are aware. But generally, I mean, that's what hosting would cost you anyway. So it's not that much of a difference. All right, let's bring it all together. I hope you're doing good with all the information that I threw at you. But to summarize, you want to stick with the free plan of Notion unless you want database automations, you want access to more than one chart, you don't want to worry about file upload limits, you have a member that you like, a team members that you want to add to multiple areas of your workspace, not just 1 or 2 pages here or there, or you want to start a Notion website on Notion. That is where I think the Plus plan will be the best option for you. Otherwise, I think you're not going to find a lot of issues on the free plan, and I think you'll do just fine organizing like everything just by using free. Notion is one of the very few tools that I think has such robust free features. and you don't feel like you get access to just like a very tiny amount of them and then they're forcing you to upgrade. So that is one of the great things about the company. I'm going to leave a link to Notion's own pricing page in the description below, just so you have a reference point so you can check it out, so you can look at maybe the different features that I didn't mention here. And if you have any questions about anything or need clarity at all about which plan you should use, or you just want to like talk about Notion, nerd out with me, have any questions about Notion, drop them in the comments below. I love connecting with you there. And give this video a thumbs up if you thought it was helpful, and I will see you in the next one.